our friends, with many of you here with us tonight, and our supporters as well. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm Adriana Zakharevich, the coordinator of the Group for Social Engagement Studies. I will be brief, and the three of us are going to be very brief in order not to allow ourselves to make you feel compressed anymore tonight. So my contribution to this volume that we're going to present here tonight centered on how a certain field of study, in our case social engagement studies, comes to be. When we read or do research, we rarely try to understand if there is no specific need for this kind of archival work, why certain people gathered together, and why they wanted to create some bulk of ideas. We merely use these ideas to create our own ideas, or just to read through them, or to enlarge an existing pool of ideas, or to alternatively put some of them into use. What I want to draw our attention to tonight is exactly the opposite. I want to acquaint you with the embodied individuals who are the Group for Social Engagement Studies, or those who brazenly name themselves foremothers and founding mothers and fathers of the prospective field of social engagement studies. So the Group for Social Engagement Studies was established early in 2014. As is very often the case, the name of the group predated the acts of the group itself. We wanted to have an object, one object, to unite us, at the time the 10 of us, who came not only from very different disciplinary backgrounds, but also with various and at times also very disparate intellectual aspirations, theoretical interests, and chosen life paths. Some of us wanted merely to write, some of us wanted to speak of it more and create audiences, and the way we wanted to create audiences also differed immensely. Some of us wanted not to be armchair theorists, and others wanted to have their ideas applied or implemented. We were delicately at war between an armchair field and political and intellectual laboratory. But that one object to unite us, but also to always keep us alert more than apart, has been social engagement, the way we thought about it and the way we wanted at least to practice it. Predrag Krstic was our friend from the beginning and also the godfather of the group, and you will see the other friends, so-called board of friends, or as we named it, BOF. So, you will see the BOFs here behind me. And you will see that their number is increasing, luckily for us. I also want to say that, so many other followed, but Petr Bojanic has been and is our entering support, who even when he was at the brink of ceasing to believe in us, remained there to push, but also to pull, to invigorate, but also to step aside and leave us alone. We, meaning Igor, Srđan, Gazela, Marian, Tamara, Mark, Jelena, Sale, and Igor, we're also crossing borders all the time during those 2.5 years that we exist, between countries, between cities, between towns, between parenting and non-parenting. We're always coming and going, we're always offline and online, trying to keep those two things together. So, it wouldn't be possible without a community, that kind of work that I'm now mentioning. But that work wouldn't be possible also without a team, so community and the team. And that team was there to prop us up, to put us down as well, quite often to direct us, and very important, to soothe us. So I'm using this opportunity to very heartily thank them all. And before I give word to Igor Pertolica, who is really going to say something about the volume that is here for you to take, I will now call our mastermind, to say something about the achievements that we made during these 2 years. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Adriana. For me, this is kind of privilege and really inspiring moment that I can work with such a people as the Group for Social Engagement is, and I would really use this opportunity to invite you all to stand here with me, please. I want you together. Yes. So those are the faces of the group which I'm really happy to work with. In Serbia, it's not so common, it's not so often that you can work with people who really dedicate themselves to some cause, whatever the cause it is. So here my role is more or less in the group executive one. I'm one who is like doing the things which we agree, and I will say a few words on the things which we did together in the past, but also the things which we are planning to do in the future. You have seen a few posters here of the conferences which we have organized. Actually, as a group, we started with something which was rather loose concept. We call it open discussions or open talks, whose idea was to open really the space for real debate, real discussion in Serbia. That's something which is not so often, it's not so common, and we wanted to invite primarily younger researchers or those who are not researchers but they are interested in mostly important social issues. So there are, I think at this moment we organized 11 open discussions on really difficult themes, for example as migration flows, refugees, natality, on some very local like plenums in Bosnia, etc., etc. We also organized conferences. This is actually 4th conference where you are participating in for the moment. But the first one which we really did together, that was our first joint venture, was the conference on Foucault, which we called Engaging Foucault. Engaging is something which is really important for us, and we are trying to keep it through all our activities or our events. So some part of this social justice conference also could be named Engaging for Social Justice, because that was something which we meant when we organized this. In between, we also had 2 conferences. One is Reflection on Capitalism or Thinking Beyond Capitalism, it depends which name we use. And another which is called How to Act Together, which is also something that is our primary, how to say, mission to discover how we as a group here standing behind me for the moment, but also other groups in society as a group itself, as a huge community, can work together for something. The thing which we are working at the moment for is to build the space for open debate, real debate, to inherit something which maybe some of you know, I guess most of you know, something which Praxis Group did in former Yugoslavia. So we are somehow modest in trying to build the spirit which existed some years ago there. And we want to build around the institute, around the Group for Social Engagement, we would like to build a Center for Excellence, which will deal with social engagement. Social engagement is not something which is like just one concept or something which is simple, that's a very complex thing. And the thing which we want to really achieve is to launch, to establish interdisciplinary studies on social engagement. And that is something which is our aim, and that is something which we seek your support to do. And we really hope that that will be something in 5, 10, 20 years, I don't know, something which you will be, let's say, you will remember and say, okay, I was part of launching that thing. That's our aim. Now I would invite Igor Krtulica, who will say something about our really first concrete product, and that's the issue of Philosophy and Society, which is our journal on social engagement.
Yeah, that's not our first product, but our first collective written product.
Yeah.
So
peer-reviewed product.
Peer-reviewed product. So yeah, some word, a few words on this volume, Philosophy and Society. When we came up with the idea of a special issue of the journal Philosophy and Society on social engagement, we wanted to introduce our group and the problems we address collectively to the people we've been discussing with, we've been inviting, that is to you, and hopefully to many other people. And this special issue, as you may have seen, is divided into two sections. The first section entitled Engaging Reflexivity, Reflecting Engagement. We gathered contribution from the various members of our group and the group for social engagement studies. And in the second section, the appendix entitled Further Thoughts on Social Engagement, we gathered contributions from the members of our BOF, such as Wolfgang Merkel, for example, you heard this morning. So many essays in this volume are looking expressly at how to explicate or complicate the very word engagement. The problem we're addressing is well captured, I think, by the double act of engaging reflexivity and reflecting engagement. Because I think it seems that this parallel defines critical theory in its whole movement. By this I mean that on the one hand, reflecting engagement means that theory critically reflects the conditions we live in and is always subsequent. Our thought is not only situated but also conditioned by a certain context which is itself overdetermined. In other words, critical thought is never abstract but has complex empirical socio-historical conditions, and the theory expresses these conditions. And on the other hand, engaging reflexivity means that critical theory must have a social or political impact. It does not only speak of social reality, it does not only say something about the political field, but a theory strives to have an impact on it, not to interpret it, but to transform it, as the good old Marx said. But why social engagement today? Why today? Ideology in the Marxist tradition was meant to explain the paradoxical conservatism of the masses. As Marx put it in the second half of the 19th century, why does the proletariat fight for its own exploitation rather than for its own objective interests? Later in the 1930s, the Frankfurt School asked, why does the European working class turn towards authoritarian fascism and totalitarianism? And then in the post-World War II period, they asked again, why do the American people and the Americanized European masses desire this new option called consumer society, leisure society, and entertainment society? Today, once again, we must ask, that's our belief, why do most of the poor and vulnerable people in Europe turn towards nationalist and far-right movements instead of turning towards revolutionary groups? Thus, to the question, why social engagement today, we could say the problem is precisely that the nature of our socio-historical situation has become highly problematic. To such a point that the nature and possibility of engagement itself has become exceedingly problematic. Indeed, in Europe, resistance to the social order is a claim of far-right parties, just as it is of the new left movements. Then, what could be resistance, engagement, critique today? And the history of the 20th century, and particularly the history of broadly defined public and intellectual engagement, revolved around the enemy localizable in the socio-political field, whether it's the state, Nazism, fascism, communism, capitalism, etc. But if such an enemy ever existed in history, an enemy that one could readily know and recognize and then fight against. It is certain that the contemporary foe now wears many different guises. If social engagement is particularly problematic today, perhaps that is due to disengagement, depoliticization, demobilization. Demobilization have become the new specters haunting Europe. Maybe it is because new forms of engagement as well, politicization, mobilization, adequate to our historical current situation, are yet to be reflected and invented. And these are the problems we want to address collectively as a group and to you. So thank you for your attention and enjoy the reception, engage in eating and drinking.